All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Heroes World Quarantine Podcast. I'm your host, Stupe. I'm here with John and Andre, proprietors
Hello.
and owners of the Heroes World store in Markham, Ontario. And we have a special guest today, Kevin. But I'll let Andre do the full introduction. So, Andre, go for it.
All right. So joining us today is my good friend, Kevin Carrington. Kevin and I go way back, all the way back to our high school days. And, we have kept in touch all these years. Kevin is a spectacular MC. He is also working for CBC. This guy is known as The Voice. And when you hear him talk, you will know exactly why. So Kevin, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Heroes World. How you guys doing?
Yes,
Awesome.
man. And Kevin will get you ripped too, man. Kevin will get you nice and ripped.
Yeah.
If you want to get
He
your
has
get your
a
workout
magnitude of talents. Let's not box him in
man.
to say what he can and cannot do. So,
That is true.
So thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Andre. We're here, of course, to talk about some unfortunate news that transpired in the last 48 hours here when we did the record. But we're here to talk about the passing of, a very talented and individual, Chadwick Boseman, who passed away from stage 3 colon cancer. So it's very unfortunate, but we're here kind of reflect on a little bit of his career and kind of the impact of Black Panther in general. And, having Kevin and Andre here kind of talk about their experience with that and the whole kind of phenomenon that happened that kind of ushered in lots of things. And we'll talk about that as we go along. But I guess we'll start with one of the topics of what does Black Panther mean to you, Andre? I guess start us off with before the movie and before the craze that is Black Panther and Wakanda. Talk to us a little bit about what that hero kind of meant to you in your youth or when did you discover him?
So yeah, Black Panther was just a really cool and different character. Being a Black individual. I've always been into comics, but most of the characters that were the superheroes weren't Black. We had a lot of great Black supporting characters and stuff. But when Black Panther hit the scene, and I never owned the original comic, but there was like he took on the Fantastic Four, and beat all the Fantastic Four and stuff. And his comic was political. He was fighting men in white hoods and stuff, and we all knew why this character was created. But the best thing about the character was what he has always exemplified. He was smart. He was, courageous, noble. He was a king, so it was just something that he had all these attributes that you could aspire to. And there was nothing negative about that character. Like he wasn't, hell-bent on, like kind of like a Punisher type character. Was never an anti-hero. Like he's always just a positive individual. And it was very refreshing to kind of be able to see that. And, obviously, as the Marvel comics turned into the Marvel movies, to see him on the screen and reach to a totally, new generation, and to reach the mass of people, because I'm sure people didn't realize that this character existed before, even, within the Black community and outside. But when Marvel did this movie, and everybody involved just took it to another level to become a worldwide phenomenon. And that is, I think, that's going to be Chadwick's, biggest legacy. And it's such a shame, because this was just getting started. Yes, he was in 3 movies, but we only got that one, Black Panther movie with him. But what a movie. I've always said this from the beginning, that Captain America Winter Soldier and Black Panther are my 2 favorite top movies. And I always say this. I always say that Winter Soldier is the better comic book adaptation, but Black Panther I think is the best movie they've made as a standalone movie, as a whole movie. And I think it's a testament to how he played the character, how he brought T'Challa to life, it was just fantastic. Like Chadwick's had a great career in such a short time. Yeah, it was something special, and that's just not to me. I think Kevin will, talk very much the same thing,
For me, I mean, when it comes to sci-fi, and everybody knows, I'm a Star Wars nut. Okay, but and I love me some comic books. In recent years, I've I don't get to read as many comic books, obviously, as I would like to, but I love to stay entrenched in that comic book world. And for me, in my early years of comics, it was like most people, I gravitated to the more popular, comic book heroes: Spider-Man, Superman, Batman. The names go on. What was really, really refreshing is as I got older and I started to look in behind the scenes of what made comics special, and the artistry, and where the characters came from, and hearing from Stan Lee himself saying that many of these iconic figures came from human experiences and Black figures, was really one of the first kind of, whoa, like now I see what I really, really liked in this, aside from the characters themselves, and the artistry, and you know what I mean, and the anticipation of comics. But later on, the story of Black Panther, it came on to me a lot later on in my comic book tenure, so to speak. And I don't know, it was just nice to see that not only was he such an iconic superhero, but he, and I'm talking about Black Panther, not, of course, Chad himself, but to know that he was so integral to the success of many other heroes within the Marvel community, it just, again, this kind of spoke to, who we are as minorities and Black people. I don't want to get off topic too much, but it just kind of goes to show, like, he was perfect. He was a perfect superhero. And I know he wasn't perfect. He had his flaws, but it kind of shows that as minorities, just how perfect we have to be to just be on the same level as other superheroes. But man, it just, when I got the news, it was just, I was shocked but not surprised. But I just had to think, like, man, not only did we lose an iconic superhero and an iconic actor, because he's done other things, Jackie Robinson, I think he even played Little Richard too. The guy,
James Brown.
James Brown, yeah.
James Brown, sorry, James Brown. The man was talented. He could sing, the man could dance.
Yeah.
But he was such a gentle giant. He was so humble. And the one time I did get to meet him, he was just quiet, just really, really quiet guy. So to find out later on that he was a singer and he could really, really dance, I don't know, man. They're taking our heroes away from us too young. Colby, him, I don't know. And to think, I'm older than he is.
Yeah.
And so to think that, you can, succumb to these, ailments at any age, I don't know, it's a little bit scary. But yeah, he touched a lot of people, and he's going to be missed, whether as an actor or as a person. He's going to be missed.
Thanks for sharing. Andre, from a cultural impact, kind of before the movie came out and after the movie came out, can you kind of talk to your experience about how, on a retailer, or just as a man and individual, like, what happened after that movie came out? Because, for context, people didn't know, me and Andre and John in the store, we had kind of when that movie came out, Andre was like, this is great, but I don't know if it's going to do very well. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if there's going to be support. And we played a game about how much money it was going to make. And, Andre was like, I love this character, but I don't know if people are going to watch it. And I think you made a conservative kind of bet in terms of, like, how much you thought globally. It's like, well, maybe it'll be good in America, but from a global standpoint, like, maybe it won't make that much money. And we kind of played our own Price is Right game, and we made I think you made a bet that it was going to make like $600 million, and then John made a bet it was like 700, and typical Price is Right, I'm like, you know what, I'll make 800, and it blew all of our expectations away. People saw it many times. So I guess talk to me about, I guess, before and after Black Panther, because again, it's now ingrained in everything people do now.
Yeah, so that was a great discussion that we had, and we always love talking the movies and stuff, and I think what Black Panther was, and what it was to mainstream audience, like big worldwide audience. I think this was the first movie to be predominantly black, but produced by and funded by Disney/Marvel money. So it had the legitimacy of Marvel, and then it was all black cast, Andy Serkis as well, and then a black director, Ryan Coogler, amazing. My fear for that movie was that the world wasn't ready for that, and it's not because they didn't maybe want it. I just don't think that people they've never seen it. Let's be frank. The only movies that they've seen maybe that come close to that would be maybe a Spike Lee movie, or
Spawn?
maybe no Spawn. But again, Spawn is a black superhero, but not a black cast. I'm
Yeah.
talking like, I think there's something in our society that things that are mono cultural do not necessarily get large support from the other cultures. So so my thing is look, there's Spike Lee's great movies. Tyler Perry, he does black centered movies with predominantly black casts. And I know it's not a superhero movie, so it doesn't have that big reach, but his movies do not reach another audience, and that's what my fear was for this movie. I thought people were like, oh, no one's going to go see the black superhero movie, but what this movie was able to do, and what all of the actors and Coogler did, was it was able to reach and mobilize all of the black community, from the smallest 2-year-old that could walk to the grandmother who never saw a movie. And there were people just buying theaters out to let people who wouldn't have the opportunity to see this film get to see this film. And I know there was a lot of people making fun of when you saw these people go to the theater and they were dressed up and they were wearing their colors. It was a matter of pride. Yeah, man. It was this is something that we haven't, black people had not seen before to this level. Again, not taking away from black film, but this is black film Hollywood mainstream. This was huge. So I was super surprised by it, but after seeing the movie, 100% understood it. This movie was fantastic. The story, the acting, the sets, the effects, the message. Like I said, it's the best movie, and it's not the best movie because I'm black and I like Black Panther. No, you look at the actors, and again, let's talk about Chadwick's performance. Like, he created the accent and the voice of Black Panther. And I remember watching him in interviews. He's like, I don't want to have an English accent. I don't want to have this. This is he said it. Wakanda has never been conquered or colonized. So they're not going to have that influence of another dialect from another. And I'm like, wow, look at that. This guy gets it. You look at what Coogler did by bringing together that cast of people and putting, female characters front and center, standing on their own, not powerful because they are an accessory to a man, but powerful because they have the man listens to them. Meaning, T'Challa listened to his aides, from his mother to his sister to Okoye to his general. It just worked on so many levels. So what this did was, I think it instilled an immense pride, for people of that are black or African descent, to see, hey, look, we have a positive image of Africa. Like, you know, this isn't the Save the Children advertisements. This isn't a movie about, you know, blood diamonds or anything. Everything we see Africa, we don't know what Africa's like because we just know what they show us, right?
Yes.
And they show us the bad stuff. And this time, you know, like I still remember, and it still chokes me every time when they're flying in the opening of that scene. And he said, "This is my favorite part." And they fly through the, you know, the hologram, Wakanda, and it gets me. And I'm thinking, man, what could Africa as a continent have been without the destabilization of colonialism and wars being fought and all this? And I know it's fictional, and I know, but man, it was so great to see it, and it's so great to see how they envisioned it, because it had, you know, they had their cultural colors, but they also had the technology integrated, you know, so the past and the present melded really well. So yeah, it was something.
They could have showed that intro like every time they flew in.
Yeah.
They could have showed that every time, and every time we would have been like,
yeah.
"Oh man, that's amazing."
Yeah, we never even really walked through Wakanda. Like, there was that one scene, but man, it would have been great. So I think from that standpoint, yeah, like it gave people, you know, something to love about themselves, about their heritage, even though it was fictional. And you see it now on social media. You see people sharing stories about their kids, whether they're white, black, yellow, anything, dressing up for Black Panther for Halloween, or even just role playing. You know, I read a really great story online about a person who does Victorian, like kind of Renaissance. What do they call that?
Ren fairs.
Ren fairs. And the person was dressed up as the queen, and a black girl came up and said she too was a princess. And kudos to that person. She asked, was she a queen of England? Was she a queen of Spain? And then it clicked on her to say, oh, are you a queen of Wakanda? And the little girl's eyes lit up, and she was so happy that she made that. And it made that kid's day. And the father was just like, yeah, that's great. So again, the cultural impact of Black Panther is huge. From a retailer standpoint, you know, more people definitely were interested in the character in the books. I think Marvel saw that. They brought in like Ta-Nehisi Coates to write the series, and then that brought in a new group of people who weren't going to be comic book readers. You know, but I really can't stress enough that not only was the movie such a team effort, but Chadwick Boseman's performance of it, you know, like, wow, what a person to exemplify what nobility is and what humility is, and just again, like all of the positive tenets, you know, that he had humor, he listened, he was stern when he had to be, and he wanted to make it change.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
so,
like that great part
yeah.
where he says, you know, I'm not going to repeat the sins of my father, and he was mad at his father, like these traits, but it's wrapped up in this in Chadwick, who, if you research him, he's that man. You know, he's an educated, dignified, professional, profoundly talented, as Kevin said. And if you look at his other roles, like, he starred as Jackie Robinson. That man is a black hero, first guy to cross those lines for baseball and shatter that, and that was played by him. So early on in his career, Chadwick's breaking that, you know, barrier and telling that story and becoming that individual. Then later on, he plays, who we just said, James Brown, again, another cultural icon. So it's just weird that well, not weird, sad. He got to play his own hero. Like, I believe he's the Black Panther. He is that guy. Like, like what we saw in T'Challa, that was already Chadwick. So he played heroes to us, and then he became a hero to us, you know. And let's not talk about making those Marvel movies while suffering from cancer, and we didn't know.
Yeah. So, yeah, Kevin, I wanted to connect with you because, you know, in passing, we've had a conversation kind of about, you know, dealing with the youth and having, you know, being a person that, you know, has children and dealing with that. How did it kind of impact you as a father and with Black Panther? What did you see happen to them? You know, I don't know, again, maybe they saw it probably after the fact. I don't know, but talk to me, I guess, about what that meant to you.
Well, first and foremost, very, very proud father of four. I've got four kids: Marcus, Sierra, Victoria, and Mark and Gabriel. I can't even keep them all together.
Yeah.
Graduating university to Gabriel, who is 10 months right now. I've got a wide spectrum, 2 boys, 2 girls. And for me, you know, right off the bat, there's just a sense of pride. It was like, you know, and knowing that there were other great Black superheroes in the past, but we all know they didn't get the shine that other, you know, iconic figures got. But it was the first thing was a sense of pride to see, oh my gosh, you know. But then I started thinking, like, how are they going to be able to do this? And then to know again that Black Panther had such an integral part to play in many other superhero successes, from Spider-Man and some of the ones that we feel are the most powerful, but Spider-Man to Iron Man, it just blew my mind that they could not excel and be successful as superheroes without his technology. And like I said, we don't know, we have no idea how old Wakanda is, but we know it's old as ass. Like, it's like, there's history there, and they did a perfect job at blending the technology with the culture, which I thought was awesome. But for me, right off the bat, I was a little skeptical. I didn't know how it would be received by people. But then to see that all just go away, and, you know, kids, you know, seeing white kids and Asian kids and Indian kids demanding to dress up and look like Black Panther. And then for myself, I'm an educator. You know, when I teach my cardio classes at schools, I'm registered with the TDSB, and it was something that that I embraced, because again, I wanted to find a way to connect with these kids. You know, and once I had their attention, then I could drop those little life nuggets. But one of the things we did was, again, I kind of stole it, but it was, what I would do is at every school that I went to, we would do the school's handshake.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, you know what, it was a bang, bang, you know,
yeah,
you know, whatever the school was, bang, bang, Markham High forever. Again, the kids loved it. So after I finished doing a cardio class, and let's face it, like these kids, a lot of times they didn't want to do it, but once I had their attention, and I used, you know, iconic figures like Black Panther in the movie to get their attention. Imagine seeing 150 kids at a school lined up just so they can go bam, bam, you know, Wakanda forever, buddy. Like, as a father, that just blows me away. But, you know, the movie has just been, you know, in the series, just absolutely impactful. But that's the thing that really does it for me, was that other superheroes could not be successful. They were successful, but they couldn't get over that, whatever obstacle it was for them, because they needed that Wakanda technology.
So Kevin, so question to you. I know you mentioned you're an avid Star Wars fan, and sometimes kids will emulate their parents' love for certain, you know, things. Are they down on that? Did you have to drag them to watch Black Panther? Like, talk to me about, you know, was it like, hey, do I have to bribe you to go? Like, or did they willingly say, we got to go watch? Like, they were hyped. Like, walk me through that.
Dude, it is to the point now where my kids go out and they are hunting for Star Wars paraphernalia for me. And I'll get the calls and the texts, like all my friends, and they'll be like, dude, like, I saw this on you. When I saw it, this is you. I'm just going to pick it up for you. You can pay me back if you want or whatever, but I know it'll make me feel good to know that I got something that makes you feel good. And you know what? I mentioned it before. This right here is a Carrie Fisher action figure, Princess Leia. I mean, I love Star Wars. Did I ever want a Carrie Fisher action figure? No, not really.
Yeah.
Through my collection here, and I was like, what's missing? I said, you know what? Let me go get it. You know, the movies are coming out, Rogue One and all this other stuff. I said, let me go and let me go see Last Jedi. I said, let me go get a Carrie Fisher doll.
Yeah.
She dies the next day.
Oh,
The kids bought it for me. She died the next day. Buddy, I was walking around like a zombie for a few days going, and that's why earlier in our conversation when I was like, when I'm seeing our young heroes, whether they be actors or athletes, it's seeing them pass at such an early age. It's one thing for them to pass on at a later age, but to see them pass on at an early age from what many would consider to be an old man's, ailment. Man, like I said, I'm older than Colby and I'm older than Chad, and to see both of these guys, get taken out in two ways like that. I mean, I know it's divine intervention. It's just it's death is a part of life, but it just kind of symbolizes again, the death of a bit of my childhood, and for Black Panther to come on later on in my childhood, so to speak, it just hits home a lot. But I mean, for myself, no, I did not have to take my kids kicking and screaming. The apple does not fall far from the tree, and they're there. As soon as a superhero movie comes out, as soon as they see the Star Wars or they see the Marvel, the comic and all that, they everyone just looks over. So when are we going? When are we going? And it's like, even for my wife too, like she's at the point where she tries to jump in because she knows I'm going to get a call from Andre or from my cousin Sean or Mike, and it's just, when are we going? When are we going? With Midnight Madness. When are we going to the late showing? That we're just all professional.
When are we going again?
Yeah.
All sense of being an adult gets thrown out the door, and there I am, 12:01. And as soon as I see the Star Wars or I see the Marvel or whatever, it's just like, so I mean, I love it, and my kids love it too. Straight up.
What did they, after watching Black Panther, did they have questions like what was, or did they know of Black Panther beforehand? Like what was kind of the gears that were transpiring?
And that was what was really cool. My kids got to kind of embrace it and take it on the same way I would. I mean, going back to Star Wars too, that was one of the things for me. I'm an original Star Wars guy, but I do have a love for the new stuff that's coming out because I like to be able to see the storyline that I know of, and I know through and through, to see it put on film. That's what does it for me. And to get to take that ride with my children, it was amazing too. And to see their excitement, and they see my excitement, and they're just like, I've never seen Dad like this. Like he's gone crazy. You know what I mean? He's a fanatic, literally. But it was great to share that experience with them and to get to learn, because again, I did not know much about Black Panther, so to get to learn that aspect of it with my children was truly great. And like I said, to use that to as a way to connect with students when I go around to the various schools, again, it's truly awesome, man. Really, really awesome to see how an actor playing a role can have such impact on who we are. But then there were other aspects too, like, is he that strong because he's a Black superhero? And how come Spider-Man and Iron Man are like almost in awe of this guy? And I said, that just goes to show you, how important this individual is. Some of these guys wouldn't survive without him, without his technology, and his intervention. So it's real cool, man. And my kids is cool.
Yeah, and Andre's point, that Black Panther movie kind of ushered in it was the reason for the movie to happen, but the peripheral stuff was the Shuri and all the stuff that happened for the female empowerment as well. So did you kind of see kind of a change in that too, because Shuri she is a woman of science, she's highly educated, she's in STEM, like this is kind of a role model that you want to have. She's not just there to, do her own thing, she's there to support it. And as we said, Black Panther helps, but really at the end of the day, it's all made by Shuri. So like she, by default, she gets even that scene in the movie where it was subtle, where she's like, why didn't you do it this way? And Bruce Banner's like, we didn't know how. She's like, oh, how quaint. So like, there's like a small little dig, and you're like, and she's like, yeah, you guys, I'll do what I can with the limited technology that you guys have. And that was, vision.
Her one comment to me, like when she called thing a colonizer, it just put everything into context for me. Yo, she's on a different level, man. Like totally different level. And for you to snicker and laugh at Bruce Banner, like, come on. But you had to know, because for John Starks to be like, no, Wakanda, and now to get to look back in other movies and see some of the Easter eggs, like Wakanda on the map and other. Again, another whole aspect of it. We mentioned Shuri, but Chad himself, like, no one else has ever done Black Panther before. So it's not like when look how many people have played Batman and played Joker and played Superman. Like, you kind of get an idea. Okay, I know what this character is about. You've seen an example of it, and now you can kind of put your own spin on it. But to start from scratch and say, okay, I got to come up with the accent, the walk, the talk, the persona, that to me is what will put Chad and what will immortalize him into not only just superhero comic book folklore, but just life in our culture in itself. It puts him up there for me.
Yeah, and to that point, not to disrespect the voice actors who've done Black Panther and the various cartoon shows. So there's, there was precedents. I think Phil Lamar did it, Damshin Henshu. Like, there have been actors who've done in a cartoon setting, but from a live action, yes, that's a whole different ballgame to encompass a character and have the physical manifestation of it. So it is, and again, we want to respect all the Black Panthers before, but to your point, he's the first actor to do it in real life. And I think some people, to the detriment or joy, if it doesn't happen in the MCU, it doesn't happen at all. So it's kind of a balance in between. But yeah, so I guess we've talked a lot about Black Panther, and Andre talked a little about Chadwick, but Kevin, what are your thoughts of him as an actor and the other performances you've seen him in? Because again, Andre did a really great job of mentioning some of his previous roles, but he's done so much, whether it's been in television and in movies. Is there either another role that you saw him outside of Black Panther that you really kind of speaks to you?
Jackie Robinson, because, and again, on the same lines of what we just spoke, I read the Jackie Robinson story. I'd seen other adaptations of Jackie Robinson's story, so I knew it. And to be able to see him put a very emotional, because I think some of the other versions of the Jackie Robinson story were, of course, done earlier on. So, and they gave his story from a certain perspective. So I think certain things were kind of missed, and of course the style of acting that was done back in the black and white days, it was very kind of a little bit of very one-dimensional a little bit. But man, to see him take on a role, for me, I don't care what role you're playing. Is it believable? Do I believe you? I don't care if you're an alien, a superhero, a garbage man, or you're a hooker. I don't care. Do I believe you? And I am willing to entrench myself into the setting, whether it's Wakanda, whether it's anywhere in the MCU or anywhere in a movie. I'm willing to entrench myself into everything, and I just don't like when actors or directors mismanage my viewership. You're watching the movie, everything is fine, no mention, and then all of a sudden at the end, aliens come down and sweep, and that's it. And I'm like, what? So he's believable, and if you do any research on him aside from the Black Panther stuff, very, very methodical when it came to acting, and
inside and out, characters inside and out.
I think you're on the right page. But
I think the word we're looking for is that he's a genuine actor. He respects the roles he gets. He researches, and then he delves in and he does the work. And you see him in interviews, and you get this idea that he's respecting in the movies he's played based on other people. He's actually also working with the director and the writers, to say, okay, what you might be missing this part of this person to make him, like Kevin says, a real 3D representation, a real version. And a lot of the times, like in the 42 movie, you know, he's talking about how he had to learn the dialogue of the time, but make himself sound different than Jackie Robinson, because Robinson had a unique voice, and the director was like, "Hey, look, do not imitate him, because that's not what you're here for. You're here to bring him to the screen, but you don't have to imitate him." And like I said, look at the work he does. Look at the voice work he's done. He was truly a master. You know, could you imagine singing James Brown and learning to do that, training your vocals, and then like said, you know, learning the period piece.
The dancing, man, the dancing,
like
friggin' crazy.
What a talent we lost, you know. And it's sure he had a really, you know, like a wonderful impact. But what breaks my heart about it is we've said gone too soon and stuff, but like could you imagine where this guy could have been?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like what more he could, like, I'm not taking away from what he did. He did so much, you know, in a short career. And you listen to his peers talking, and I'm sure everybody's heard the story that, you know, Denzel Washington helped him. You know, he met Angela Bassett before. You know, he was in. People recognized, you know, his potential and his greatness, but it wasn't a greatness that was just, I'm naturally, you know, talented. He was talented, but he worked at it, and I think that is all the more, like, that's a great message. He knew what he wanted, he worked at it, but like, man, it's truly a loss. You know, it's truly, and again, not just because I'm a comic book fan and Black Panther, you know, but like just truly a loss. Like his family and friends, all those people. You know, like I hurt for a person I never met, but you can't help but feel through watching him that his passion. You know, so I feel I'm more in the loss of that passion and stuff.
And fortunately or unfortunately for us, we got one more kind of Chadwick Boseman thing coming down the pipe, because he did do voiceover for the What If Marvel. So we will get a teeny bit more Black Panther. It's, again, not enough that would satisfy anyone, but we'll be able to honor him again as he does his character one last time in animation form. So he'll kind of go full circle and be able to do that as well. So it is, you know, I think we all were shocked and took aback, but I think his impact is large, not only from the African-American community, but, you know, for all minorities as well, because Black Panther ushered in a way for, you know, what Asian, you know, Asian August, you know, that whole thing with Crazy Rich Asians. And it's kind of cascaded where Andre mentioned it before, you know, that ensemble of African-American cast is a unique kind of world where usually it's pigeonholed. You spend $10 million, $20 million, you get the same people, and then it's the same movie and over, filmed in Atlanta. And then now it's, you know, now that you could do it, that Black Panther show that it could be done on a major studio, and that led to, you know, Crazy Rich Asians, that led to a small movement, and now we have, you know, now an Asian superhero movie as well. So, you know, this is moving along where it's showing that, you know, diversity is a big deal. And Simon Liu, you know, said, hey, don't get me wrong, like, I'm in a movie, Shang-Chi, but it's not possible without Chadwick Boseman. Like, this movie does not exist without him being that person that ushers in, you know, this type of cultural impact. So again, I think we're all going to be thinking about him as we go forward. And you know, and Chadwick, it's the thing about it, you look back at his IMDb, like, he's done kind of a little everything, from daytime soaps to, you know, of course he's in Law and Order.
CSI
Everyone's in Law and
shows,
Order. Yeah, like that. And the fun thing too, one of the internet poked out, is that him and Michael B. Jordan played the same character in All of My Children. So they played the exact same character in Reggie Porter. So, like, again, it's one of those things where Reggie Porter, so Kevin's losing mind. So it's one of those things where they're both in All of My Children, and it's like back in 2003. So a long time ago, and it shows the escalation of his career, where, you know, no small part is unsung, and, you know, he from there to, all the way down from ER, it's like a badge of honor to be in all these shows, and Castle and Fringe and Justified, and again, I think we have to we'll quickly just mention how funny he was in Saturday Night Live. How we know him as a dramatic actor, but how
he's great,
diverse, and how was he able to just go in there, and even all the skits that we'll look back to at SNL, and just being able to really just poke fun of himself too, and a lot of things that he's talented in accents, but just again him able to do that as well was something that was really funny. So
you know what, for people who are on TV and on radio, you need to have a little bit of humbleism. Like, you need to be humble a little bit, because you can easily get surrounded by people who are a bunch of yes men, and the only reason they're saying yes is because they want you. For every dollar you make, they make a percentage off of it, so they're fueling you to go and do whatever. They want you to burn out. They don't care, because they'll just get somebody else in to leech off of as well. But that's what I think made him so successful as an actor, is that he didn't take himself too seriously, and when people would be he was just kind of just chill, you know what I mean? And that's what I liked about him. He was quiet, he was chill, and something that I try to teach my kids all the time, like, just because something could be said doesn't mean it has to be said, and sometimes silence is more. Silence is golden, and I think that was one of the other things that he personified as well, just how to carry yourself, because like, as an actor, you can get lost in all the roles that you play. It can weigh on you to try to act like somebody else, and when that's your job, not something that you just dabble in, but when that's your job and you take it seriously, and you want to look back and be able to say, yeah, I know I did a good job. It can mess with your psyche a little bit, and then when you wonder why you see Kanye and Kim Kardashian, all these people start like, why the hell are they acting so weird? You got to kind of understand what world they're in. But I think he did a very good job. You can obviously tell that he had a good support system around him, because it's easy to get lost in the shuffle and forget who you are. And I think he really, really kept himself grounded, and doing those things like those SNL skits got to show you like just how versatile this guy really is. He was funny as ass. Funny.
And to Andre's point, the fact that he was going to those Make-A-Wish and visiting children of that had terminal diseases and cancer while secretly battling his own disease just speaks volume to what kind of person he was, and what people can aspire to, because it must have been very difficult for him to keep it kind of quiet. I'm sure there's a couple people that knew along the way that kept it quiet as well, but it just shows the fact that when you become a superhero, there's kind of obligations that speak outside of it, whether it's and all of them talk about how that's kind of the the treat that's the responsibility that goes with it. They have to a lot of them have the costumes on standby, and then they wear them and go to the hospital and see the kids and to help them. So it's the fact that he was doing it also probably in pain and filming all that stuff in between speaks to what kind of person he was and how he wanted to get back to the community.
Yeah, and I know for myself, that's one of the things that will really stick with me with regard to some of his images. It's not his on-air images. It's a lot of the images of him off-air. And when I look into his eyes, I see a guy who's going through some pain, but he's trying his hardest to smile through all the pain. You can see it. I know that look. I've had that look myself. I've seen that look in other people and other professionals. And I know even from my times at City TV that a lot of times what made me memorable was not what I did on air, was what I did off air. And just sometimes recognizing that there's some of this A-list talent, that they're human. And because I treated them like a human being and said, hey, you know what, you got a little something right there on your mouth, or hey, you know what, don't worry, everything's going to be okay. And they're like, what are you talking about? I can see that something else is on your mind, but hey, we're going to do an interview right now. And then they would come back to me before they get to the limo. A couple of times it's happened, and they'll look back at me and they'll just say, thank you. Or they'll come back and say, you know what, I needed that. I was feeling a little bit. And to hear that from, and I'm not going to name names, I'm not going to name drop, but just for them to recognize the humanity and all, and just to be able to say, you know what, thanks. It speaks a lot, about who they are as actors and people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think Ron is going to join us in a second. I know you'll have to leave sometime soon. Did you want to give a final thought, Kevin, before, and then you can kind of bounce whenever?
Yes, man. I could talk geek all day. I love this. I don't get to do this very much with my other friends because they're not on that level. And then but trust me, Andre knows that when one of these movies comes out, two things are going to happen: excessive popcorn consumption, and he's going to get a phone call from Kevin. Yo. And then sometimes it's for me to even hear that this guy hasn't seen a movie yet. I'm like,
yeah.
You're the guy I was gonna call.
Well, we will take you as long as we can get. I think Ron, another Unionville High School alumnus, will join us in a second. So this
might be Ron or Ray, or both.
Gang up on him, Andre. Anything he says, we'll shut it down. You know?
I went to MDHS, so this is me. This is me. This
is a 3-on-2 going on.
This is we gotta balance it out. I went to old school MDHS, so don't you we probably also have the same teachers as well, because we can talk offline, but we probably all are.
That's a whole nother.
There's a whole nother podcast, but we probably saw the same teachers. So we're not that far removed. So yeah. Anyway, let me jump in and I'll bring in Ron and see if he has a problem.
Might be Ray. Is it Ray or?
It's Ron. Yeah.
It's Ron.
So,
okay, let me find out where Ray is.
So yeah, it's fine. But it's connecting an audio. Oh, no video. But hey, Ron, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear everybody.
Hey, we're recording, so you're recording. How you doing, brother? How are you doing?
Hey.
Ooh.
Long time
I
no
was
see.
saying, the man himself.
No. How you doing, man?
Great, man. How you doing? How are
Good,
things?
good. You're joining John and Andre and Kevin. So we're just, I guess we'll start with you because they've already talked a lot about Black Panther, but tell us about what Black Panther means to you. Like, what does it mean? Well, let me do a quick introduction. Ron, why don't you do a quick introduction, and then we'll.
Ron, introduction. Stu, I've known that's going back to the leadership.
Yeah. YRPC, that was a long time ago. Yeah. Long time ago. Let's not do dates. Let's not. We're gonna feel old. But Ron has been around for a while. Big into big into culture as well. So the comics and all the stuff. But I guess you don't want to speak too much about yourself. But let's talk about Black Panther because again, go for it. Oh, you're.
Take a look at Black Panther. I see it from more than one perspective. So if we're looking at if we are looking at Chadwick, we're looking at the actor. We're looking at an actor that really knows how to put their foot into every role that they're in. So we saw that with 42, and knowing that he was going to be Black Panther, and really just the first introduction of him when we got a glimpse of him in Civil War. It was different from Falcon. It was different from War Machine. They kind of had their intros, but it didn't really leave an impact on you by the time the movie was finished. So with Civil War, he comes in, and just the strength and the presence that they gave the character really set the tone for the Black Panther movie. Now, fast forward now, Black Panther movie's coming out. I'll be honest, we've had some movies in the past, Blade, let's not forget Meteor Man, movies that have come out in the past. Yeah, Kevin, Meteor Man. So Meteor Man comes out, and I mean, the movies were there, but they didn't have the same impact, right? Well, everybody's muted, so I can't hear you guys.
Oh no, we didn't discuss. We did not discuss Meteor Man. So thank you so much for dropping that gem on us. We had.
Is it Tim Townsend?
We talk about Spawn, but not Meteor Man. So that was great.
Or Blank Man? Oh man.
Oh man, yeah. There's a few, but go on, keep on going, Ron. That was great points.
Oh, I don't know. Ron might have froze.
That's fine. He's froze, but. Kevin's just losing it. Oh man, Ron drops the hammer of Meteor Man on us. All of us old guys are like, "Oh yeah,
And then he bounces.
Meteor Man."
And then he bounces.
Bounces. That's speaking of dropping the mic. That is the mic drop. Wow.
I need to get a red card. That was.
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, there was a technical issue. He jumped out, but we'll get him back. But Meteor Man. Wow, that was.
While we're waiting for Ron to come back in and Ray to join us, like, you know, Stu, you'd mentioned about, and we've all been talking about his impact. I think one of the most genuine things we saw about his impact, because a lot of the stuff was behind the scenes that you mentioned, him going to the hospital, Stu, but that Jimmy Fallon spot where fans of the movie were talking to the post, and he came back to surprise them. And you see the genuine love that people had for him and the character and what that was brought on. And, you know, I really hope the Jimmy Fallon show releases a cut of all of the people, because they probably just, you know, picked. But that was, like, again, and again, we don't know the struggles, but everybody he listened to, he came out with not the same greeting, you know, like he came out, remember when he came out and he says, "What movies do you want to produce?" And the girl was freaking out, and he came out and he's like, he said the Howard, I don't remember what it was, but he said the Howard chant, and she lost it, you know. And just that mother talking about, you know, hey, my son gets to grow up with heroes like Obama and Black Panther. And you see the kid when he walks out, the kid is just like, he doesn't believe that. And and you know, how many people can really have that genuine impact on somebody's life? And it's, you know, he what an incredible person. You know, so I hope the talent show does that. So yeah.
Andre, unlike you, I'm a little embarrassed to say, like, I do not think I have any Wakanda technology in my house. I mean, I have superheroes that have benefited from Wakanda, but I don't have any Black Panther action figures or swag or anything like that. And I'm here on my computer, and that's kind of the reason why I got up this morning. I just wanted to kind of see what Black Panther swag is going at right now. Like, I don't want to be that guy to jump on the bandwagon, but no, my collection needs to represent my childhood and or whether it be my early childhood or my adult childhood. Yes, I see it. I thought when I got on today, I thought I was just going to be on with a bunch of Black Panther masks. I was going to be like, oh gosh.
I got the helmet upstairs.
So let me quickly just do a segue. Welcome back, Ron, but we also have Ray joining us. So here we go. Thank you for joining us, Ray.
Hey,
We'll let you go in a minute. Ron would just dropped some dynamite on us and ran away. So we got to let them go back. He dropped the Meteor Man deep cut. And we were all...
very quick, guys.
Yeah, we love it. We love it. We were all just going, oh my God, just drop the mic and just let... If you didn't come back, it still would have been amazing. So we're going to let Ron kind of finish his thoughts, and then we'll let you, Ray, go on it. But let's just kind of roll back. Your thoughts, Ron, on Black Panther, what it meant to you. You know, the character in general, and kind of how it changed your life is kind of the question we're going
thanks to the point I was making is, you know, before that you had characters like, you know, Blade. Meteor Man was a big one. I mean, within our community, you know, Meteor Man was kind of that movie that you're like, hey, you know, it kind of represents us in the neighborhood and everything, but it didn't have the same impact. You know, Meteor Man, the technology at the time just didn't really have, you know, the same impact. Luke Cage comes out, and I'm like, whoa, Luke Cage hit us in a different way. So I'm like, okay, you know, I kind of see that. But then again, it kind of fits that typical Black narrative of the community, the hood, and all of that. So anybody who's watching it, who is interested in that, is going to tune in. Anyone who isn't, you know, people watch Luke Cage and say, I didn't like it. I watched it, I'm like, how could you not like it? Within the first episode, I loved it. So fast forward now to Black Panther, what really set the bar was the fact that they were showing the Black community or Wakanda as being at the top. So now you're watching a movie and you're saying, hey, look, you know, this is a completely, you know, advanced a society here, technology, just the respect and royalty, you know, and just the just the cultural presence from top to bottom. So, you know, you watching this within the first 10 minutes, you're like, wait, man, they're showing Black people, you know, doing things right. And looking at it from the Black community's point of view, we've always kind of looked at that and said, hey, this is the way that we would love to conduct ourselves. So now we're seeing it on screen and we're like, wait, so we can actually be in the same room and we can actually get along together. And after that, now you have a hero that is able to keep up with Captain America and Winter Soldier. So we're now looking at somebody who not only represents us properly, not only shows us, not only makes us feel proud for having that advanced society, but then also is able to keep up with all of the top heroes. So now if you were Black, you're like, hey, that's me. I can do that. It makes me feel like that. And I don't know if Ryan Coogler really had the idea behind it, but the way that Wakanda is depicted in the film, to me, represents what modern Africa is like. Many people will look at it and say, you know, I picture Africa as safaris and huts and things like that, not knowing that there's, you know, a society over there. There are a lot of greatly built cities and a lot of great a lot of great things implemented over there that a lot of people would not know unless you were there. So that kind of transition where they were going from what looked like just regular, you know, mountain land to now a society is almost like what we would experience mentally, kind of opening us up to that. So there are many different points and many different ways to look at it, but you knew every time you saw Black Panther, you know, he was really going to impact the battle, you know, as much as your top mainstream guys that everybody knows. So that really had us coming out in full dress and garment, and we felt like, hey, you know what, we finally arrived. And that's kind of what I took, you know, from it. I saw the movie, you know, countless times in theater, and that's just my take, guys. That's
awesome. No, that's perfect. I'm gonna jump back to you in a second because I know Ray has to leave soon, but I want to give you a chance. I'll jump back to you, Ron, in a second. Yeah. But Ray, thanks for joining us. Can you give us your thoughts on what did Black Panther mean to you from a standpoint?
Yeah, for sure. Stu, nice to meet you. Andre, Ron,
Raymond.
Guys, man, really good to see you guys. Kevin, nice to meet you, man. I'm really, you know.
So Ray, what does Ray do?
Oh, I'm a DJ.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you know, it's I want him to plug himself near the end. Give him a there's a plug section.
Yeah.
Also, he might be on your same turf, so let's just slow. I wanted you guys not to go in an adversarial situation.
There's enough to go around. I just want to make sure the brother gets his just due. I know he's a DJ, but it's the market. I'm sorry.
I want to let him go with the plug, but yeah, let's keep on going, Ray.
That's okay. I think
there's a battle going down after.
No, Kev, not at all, man.
Yeah,
not at all.
And, yeah.
I would love to hear some of what you have, Kev, and I didn't know you were a DJ, and that's kind of cool. I'm actually, first and foremost, a friend of John and Ron's from very early childhood, so I'm their friend before I became a DJ, for sure. But I think my perspective is probably from the lens of a DJ, and when it came out, Black Panther, I heard that Kendrick Lamar was going to be, you know, heading project, specifically working on the soundtrack, and I started seeing Black Panther, you know, added to flyers, club events. You know, some men were coming out dressed in some different Afrocentric gear to the parties that we were playing at, and I saw it as like a huge move for South African music, Kwaito, and some music, you know, that are, you know, emerging from places like Senegal and Angola, creating the North American pop culture of rap music. So I follow and research music, I guess, all my days, and you know, a lot of what I was kind of disappointed in is, you know, with Wakanda being this fictional place, but really pulling a lot of African, Africa onto the screen, that there wasn't any Black Coffee or any of the big South African DJs on the bill. But what I did like was, seeing and hearing through the soundtrack, these powerful songs that were taken from a lot of the African undertones, and like Tambor was in there. And I'm not a huge movie head, and I can't really attack this from the perspective of Marvel, but I am jumping on the bandwagon of what Ron is saying, is that there were some areas that I could self-identify with in the movie. And I'm not a physically fit gentleman, but when I was watching it, and I watched it a few times, even with my daughters, I felt like I needed to do push-ups, like I want like this character, right? And what was disappointing is when Halloween came around and the Black Panther costumes were all sold out. And $80, $80. I'm like, $80 for a mask? I don't want to spend $80, but I don't have any Black Panther paraphernalia in my house. I do remember that they were releasing it on vinyl in like 2018, and I didn't like the album that much to buy it, truthfully. But it made a big impact in terms of what African music was able to do and collaborations that took place on that soundtrack. And it was the first time I heard of Georgia Smith. She's fine, by the way. Anyway, it was the first time I heard of her, R&B artist from the UK, and she arrived on that album, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. So I didn't follow a lot of the actors' careers, from that movie, but I do remember that Boseman played in James Brown, and he had a scene where he sang "Please, Please, Please," and he looks kind of like James Brown.
Yeah.
That's the wig. His facial features look like him. He's a little bit more athletic. James was a heavy drug addict, and he's a celebrity. But in that movie, I think for me, see this young actor pull out what it is to be in the 60s and then thrown onto the big screen, and then he's starring again in Black Panther. Like he's a mogul, right? Like every especially right now with Black Lives Matter movement, like my entire Instagram blew up, and I had to look up why he died. I just kept seeing his face. I'm like, wow, this actor passed away. What the heck happened? And it's sad, we shouldn't be here on his loss. We should be celebrating, I guess, some of the triumphant victories that he's made in the communities. And we should all be playing his soundtrack today. I'm for sure going to be playing James Brown one. As I said, the Kendrick Lamar one, he did justice for sure. And he pulled a lot of folks out of South Africa to help make that album happen. So that's it, man. That's my take on the whole Black Panther movie. I took it from the soundtrack perspective because that's what I'm into. And from the movie perspective, again, like, wouldn't we all want to look like that guy? Like he's amazing.
So I was asking you, right, because I know you have to bounce soon. So, we talked about the impact of what that movie's done for minorities, and it's pushed over to Shang-Chi, where there's the Asian side of things. But also if you look at the Eternals with Kumail Nanjiani, like now it's moving South Asian. So like, give me your thoughts on like what that means, because now that dude is super ripped as well. Like, what does that kind of mean to you? Like the fact that it's coming to different communities, and everyone's gonna have their own type of guide, but also the pressure to be, like again, the immense pressure that Chadwick had to put on to be, oh, by the way, you're Black Panther, this royal smart dude that's almost as smart as Mr. Fantastic, who's a warrior, who's all these things, and now it's kind of ushering kind of new characters along the way. So what are your thoughts?
I honestly don't have too much to say on that, and I think from a perspective of pressure, these guys are getting paid. So, that alleviates a lot of the pressure, in my opinion. And yeah, I do have to run. I do have somebody waiting outside, but bless you guys, man. Nice to see you.
Yeah, we'll do a plug for you. Where can they find you?
I'll post you.
Where can they find you? Ray, where can they find you?
Instagram, DJ Ruction, SoundCloud, Deep Vibes Entertainment. There's 98 mixes on there. The house one just on Friday. I'll inbox you guys 100%. Kev, nice to meet you, fellow DJ. Big up.
Thanks for coming, Ray. Sorry about the technical
Andre,
difficulties.
Stu.
Thanks, buddy. Yep.
Yeah, man.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Ray. Good to see you, man.
You too, man.
So that in and out like a flash. So that's what's going on. This is what the pod is going to be. So we have Jody as well.
That's Warren. I think it's Warren.
Warren's here. Is he here? No, he's on mute. We'll deal with that in a second. But Ron, back to you. So what? I guess from kind of all of, I've talked like a little bit about what a kind of. Oh well, there we go. Oh,
there we go.
Warren.
Hey, Warren, how are you doing?
Hey guys. Good, how are you?
We're recording, so thank you so much for joining us. I apologize. I saw a different name and I introduced you as Jody, so my bad.
Oh yeah, it's her Zoom that I'm using, so.
Sorry, Ron, I'm gonna have to put you on hold for one more second. So Warren, thank you so much for joining us. I'll give you a chance to kind of talk a little bit about yourself, like, and then we'll get your thoughts on what Black Panther meant to you, not only Chadwick Boseman, but as the character and how it's kind of affected your life and made changes to your life.
I've known these guys for a long time. Heroes World is one of my favorite spots to go and get comics, and I've been a lifelong comic fan. I've been collecting comics since I was a kid. And one of the things that I enjoyed is that my dad, when he would get me comics, he would specifically buy me comics that had Black characters. And it was, and as I grew up and even getting into the corporate world, people would say to me, Black Panther, he must be amazing because you finally have a superhero that's Black. And I'm like, I would do that little shudder because there are a lot of Black superheroes in comics that I'm familiar with. And even from a movie standpoint, there were movies that I've seen that I could say, okay, well, yeah, that could be me as a kid, like, to see if there are other superheroes. I mean, he wasn't the first Black superhero in a movie. I mean, if you guys know Meteor Man or even
Rob, drop that down. Rob, Meteor Man, Steel. We have Blade.
I'm even going to include Blank Man.
We got that one down.
So I don't want to talk about Catwoman because no one needs to talk about that. But anyways, for him,
Pootie Tang, there's a lot of movies.
Yes, there were a lot of movies, and for him to do what he did was amazing because one of the things that I enjoy about Civil War is when Winter Soldier was taking everybody out, he stood toe to toe with him. And it was one of those amazing scenes where, he's not just T'Challa. He is truly the Black Panther. And he showed poise. He showed power. He was a king. I mean, everything that he did was what I wanted them to show when they showed Wakanda, when they showed Black Panther. Because everyone who knows in the comic world, like, Wakanda's like untouchable. There was that other storyline where I think it was Fear. And the Earth was battling aliens, and it showed Earth, and it showed every city was getting taken down, and then Captain America, I think he asked Black Panther, "Hey, do you guys need help in Wakanda?" And he was like, "No, we're good. What are you talking about?" And we're like the only country that like repelled the forces of these aliens. And I did one of these. So as an actor, I'm sad because I think he had so much more to give. I think he was just scratching the surface of his ability to show people what a Black actor can give the television screen. And you look at the amount of people that flocked to the theaters to watch this movie, and everybody walked away like basically saying, "Wow, that was amazing." I even think they could have done more. I mean, I watched the battle scenes, and part of me was kind of like, and this is the cynical person like Andre would. This is an Andre comment that I'm making right now. When they had that battle scene and they all had these electric shields, I was like, really? Electric shields? They should have like flying ships. They should have like hundreds of flying ships, and they should have like cannon guns and all this kind of stuff. But then I understand that there was a correlation between the past and the present. So yeah, I gave them a pass for that, but that's just my Andre and me kind of wanting more out of what they can give us. So Anyways, that's my 2 cents worth.
But visually, it looks better with shields. Like I think from like a visualistic standpoint, it looks cooler with the gear they're rolling. If they just had like stormtrooper uniforms, you'd be like, well, I can't see their face. They kind of look boring that way if they're all just wearing like armor. So
if I remember correctly, guys, in the movie, they kind of made it seem as though we're not going to give you guys the whole kitchen sink. We got a lot more stuff, but this is what we have. This is enough to deal with you guys. Like I kind of got that feeling from the technology aspect of it, you know, that they had a lot more to give. So I don't know if they did that because they were unsure of the success of the movie, or if they did that to just drive home the fact that Wakanda was here above everybody else, head and shoulders above everybody else.
I think to Warren's point, I think Wakanda is a kind of interesting country because it embraces the old and the new at the same time. So that was a way for them to say, we know the shields of our past, that's what the warfare is, but we can adapt it to make it better. We can do things on our behalf. And to your point, yeah, they didn't throw the kitchen sink until Avengers, you know, Endgame, where when the portal opens, all these ships show up. You're like, where are these ships from? It's like, it's got to be from Wakanda. So like even then, they kind of, to your point, maybe held back a little bit in terms of full capabilities until completely necessary. But I think from, you know, if I'm not a cosplayer, but from a cosplay, also from a opportunity for kids and for adults to dress up, like that look of Wakanda, embracing the old and the new, and having this together, it enables people to, when they go to convention, dress that way without, you know, to make it their own and to have that materials for themselves too. So kudos to them to enabling that world to be, you know, for someone who go to a convention whenever they come back to do it. And I could see, you know, and for you guys too, like I think Ray gave a good example about costumes. Like it was impossible to find at one point, but now it's in the cultural zeitgeist where people want to dress up and, you know, just get more and more elaborate as people go forward. Like as elaborate as the Iron Man costumes where everything kind of moves and whatnot, but now there'll be lights and things for Black Panther. So that's cool. Ron, did you have a comic that you wanted to bring up that you thought that maybe, you know, like, because I think for John and Andre and myself, we have mentioned Black Panther in comic books, talking about the Fantastic Four, talking about the Avengers and like the cool stuff he's done and the iconic panels that he's been a part of, you know, especially his relationship with Black Panther and with Namor. But do you have anything that you wanted to highlight that you remembered or something that resonated with you?
Not so much just from a comic book standpoint, but just the fact that he's almost, not unbiased, but he literally steps in, kicks, and he's like, all right, well, you know, you never need me again.
Yeah, I'm on.
You know, you up for help. That's what I personally love about Black Panther. He demands that presence. When he shows up, you're like, okay, it's serious business now. And you know, again, for me, looking at all of the big, you know, superheroes and, you know, looking at Iron steps in and everyone's like, oh, well, Iron Man's here. Well, you know, he's in the next. Black Panther does that. You know, for me, I'm able to see him represented coming in and just having that powerful strength, impactful presence. So I couldn't really narrow it down just to one particular comic, because every I've seen him, he's brought that not so much the mystery, but it's that, you know what you are getting here, and it seems as if everybody else within within the Marvel universe understands that as well. When, you know, once Wakanda's involved, they're like, okay, yeah, all right, we have to.
There's a great moment in a current series right now called Empire, and it's basically the Avengers and the Fantastic Four, and you've got the Kree, the Skrull, and the Kotai, and they're all at war, and there's this cool moment where the Avengers are fighting them, the Fantastic Four is fighting them, and you're listening to the threat assessment of the enemy. And the guy says, watch out for T'Challa. He's the most dangerous man on the planet.
Yes.
Boom, like they get that, and they know that Wakanda is the staging ground. If you take Wakanda, you know, you basically are going to neutralize Earth. And that is in no small part because of the success of the movie and how they have elevated the character of the Black Panther to his rightful place. Like I said, first impression when we first saw him, his test was to take out the Fantastic Four, and he did that. And over the years, we have continually seeing him. Like everybody here has probably read the Illuminati. I know that's one of your favorites too, right? You literally have the 7 most powerful people in the Marvel universe, and T'Challa's there. You've got Namor, you've got Black Bolt, Professor X, Tony Stark, Doctor Strange, you know, and when you see him in those moments, he's the voice of reason. He's the conscience. He's kind of like that. I'm going to tell you guys what I think because I don't fear your power. I am an equal here. And he puts them in step. He's like, you don't want to do this action. He's like, they're conscious. And like Stu said, bringing the parallel to him and Namor, they may have 2 different like sides, but they both know the burden of being a monarch, a leader, a king. And that's what makes him such a great character, and how he has so many layers and levels. And I, again, to bring it back around to talking about Chadwick, you got that in the movie. You know, like in the movie, he deferred to the general. He deferred to his spy, his sister. He didn't say it's my way. And I think that's, you know, it's an important trait to be a king and listen to those people. And even when he goes and he asks for help, right? He asks for help from the other tribes. He recognizes, he's like, I cannot do this without you and stuff. So he embodies all these great things about being a leader. And I think all of us have said it so far. It's like, that's something to really not only aspire to, but to be very proud of and see that this is such a noble character. You know, to have that on the screen and portrayed that way in a positive light that everybody around the world saw, you know, I'm glad we had the moment. You know, we all know that it sucks that his life got cut short. Like Warren said, like we've said, Kevin and I said, you know, everybody's like, it's too short. You know, his light burned bright and then just boom, like, you know, and he could have wasn't even like the movies he's did, the impact he already had in his whole career. Like again, just getting started. You know, like this was like, you know, like lap 1. You know, and he built up all of this stuff, and he was boom, like he after Black Panther, he's got his pole position. You know, like he's starting, and yeah.
Yeah, and it's to your point, Andre. It's like look at everything that's happened. I think we can all say without any type of debate that Black Panther's the best of that genre. As all due respect to Blank Man and Meteor Man and all those, it's the one and only. And look at what it's done for, you know, the reintroduction of icon comics, and look at, you know, Black Lightning, and you look at what's happening down the line with, you know, inclusion and diversity, and these characters that wouldn't necessarily be in the forefront without the success and the popularity of Black Panther. So that's the legacy that will continue on, is that, you know, whether it's introduction of new characters, whether it's Riri Williams, and like, as you know, and all these countless characters that are coming into the you know, the zeitgeist of hey, we can do this, and we don't necessarily have to be, as Ron eloquently put, like a street level character. Like, no disrespect to Luke Cage. I love Luke Cage, but again, it's a very, to your point, you said it very well. It's a very particular subculture, and it's like, you got to know it. And like, I love Brooklyn. I love all the things, and I love the culture, but like, it's hard some people are thrown off. But something about Black Panther and Andre, the regalness of it, and it's a world type of thing. And it also, because it's Wakanda, it's an imaginary world. People seem to be embracing it rather than it. I think it's imaginariness that makes people, comforts them, rather than the realness of New York City and what's happening there. So, and again, I can't speak fully, but maybe that's just my theory, but Warren, do you think that's kind of on point before I go to Ron?
Well, I mean, Ron kind of touched on it, right? They're royalty,
Mm-hmm.
and as a Black person being in the city, like I didn't come from the hood.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like I understand Luke Cage, but I can't relate to that lifestyle because I didn't grow up around violence and things like that. I lived in a middle class neighborhood. I was very lucky. I mean, my brother and I always joke and say, if we fail in life, it's our fault because my dad did everything everything right. He raised us right, and I didn't. You know that there's that scene where the child says to his father, like, I get straight A's. I haven't been to jail. I've never done drugs. You're not supposed to go to jail. You're not supposed to do drugs. You're supposed to do good in school. So we've done all the right things in life, and to see someone like him where he actually embodies like the T'Challa in the comics. Like he speaks with authority. When he speaks, he's not talking down to you. He's speaking above you because he is. Going back to Andre's, there's another arc right now where it's Moon Knight trying to take everyone's powers, and he goes through Doctor Strange, he goes through Thor, he goes through everybody. Then he encounters Black Panther, and he's trying to take his power. He's like, why is this not working? Black Panther gives him a look like, what are you trying to do right here? My power is in my blood. I don't know what you expect to happen, but it's not happening. And going back to that Civil War scene, yeah, I love that he had no fear. Like this, he's fighting toe to toe with Winter Soldier, and he's chasing him. Everyone else is just trying to survive. He's chasing this guy. Like that's when Black Panther was coming out. All I wanted was them to show exactly what Wakanda was in the comics and show what Black Panther was going to be in the comics. And that's kind of that. He's up there. And just like you said, that whole Illuminati, they're picking the people that are the smartest and the brightest. And he's kind of got a little bit of Batman in him because he's smarter than everybody else in the room. And then he's got a little bit of Captain America because he's stronger than everyone in the room. And then he's not entitled. He just is. I'm a king. I mean, I respect you, Captain America, because you're a great soldier, but I run a country. So when I speak, my ideas have to be listened to.
Warren, I know you talked about a few nitpicks along the way, but other than, some of the technology things, did you feel the movie encompassed what your vision was outside the comic books? Did you feel that it kind of hit what you wanted to hit and the character kind of resonated the way that you wanted him to? Or was there still a lot of things that you still wanted?
You know what? I was very satisfied with the way they portrayed Wakanda. I was satisfied with the way they explained why Wakanda didn't share anything with the world. Mm-hmm. But I like that they touched on the fact that Wakanda is a Black country, but there's Black people throughout the world. So for us to be isolated doesn't make sense, because if we want to help Black people as a race, we need to help everybody in the world. And it's not even just Black people, because they took in Winter Soldier. And they took care of him. And they didn't just take care of him, they kept him under their protection. So when America's like, oh, we want him back, they're like, well, no, you can't. And plus, if you really want him, you're going to have to come here. And they're like, okay, you can keep him.
Happening. That ain't happening.
Right? So there's that level of respect. And we're seeing it right now. And I love Ron's shirt, because anyone who doesn't understand, I mean, people ask me all the time, they're like, so the NBA, what does boycotting accomplish? What is accomplishing? We're having a conversation right now that we wouldn't be if they were playing today. We'd be how many points people are going to score, who's going to win, but we're talking about why they're not playing, and now I'm getting an opportunity to explain to you why they're not playing. I think it's amazing that well, it's sad that we have to acknowledge things, but it's amazing to see people come together, and all of the sports are like, you know what, we're going to boycott for 2 days because what's happening in the States isn't right. The timing of his passing away, it's devastating, because we're in such a downward spiral because of the way the world is right, with COVID, with systemic racism. Like, there's all this going on, and this, for me, it hurts me, because I feel like we lost someone special. He wasn't just any actor. He was someone who gave us something to look forward to and to look up to. And I have no idea where the Black Panther franchise goes from here. I mean, how do you replace him? That's like, that's not. It's a question. I don't know. I have no answer for that. I don't even know what they do with the franchise. I think they might have to give the world a morning. Go ahead.
Yeah, to your point, I think we kind of talked about it. There's so much grieving right now that to think about that as something that it's not comfortable. Like I think we honor him and continually talk about what his impact to the culture is and what that means. I think there are already enough Marvel movies coming up for the interim, and we deal with it way later down the line. It's just, I think it's to your point about the whole, it's if we jump too far ahead, then it's losing the message of what he meant to the culture and what he meant and what he leaves behind. Because he's done so much, and whether it's philanthropy and helping, all his extracurriculars for helping still his alma mater at Howard. Like, we didn't even talk about what he's still doing and his relationship with why he's so humble, and because Denzel basically paid for his schooling. Like this is all little things that no one really, like, Denzel basically did an endowment, and then he was one of the lucky people to get to do that. And Andre mentioned about Angela Bassett, like, he went there to her alma mater, and he was the student attaché. Like, he was a student who basically walked her around and like, oh, here's what thing, and like helped her do things. So like everything comes full circle, and there's so much more celebration that we need to give to him, that talking about kind of about the future is it's way down the line. But your points are very valid. It's something that I don't think there's a proper answer, and I think that we need to, God, let's just get out of 2020 before we worry about any of that other stuff. Like, let's get through this, and Kevin mentioned before, like, God, we already lost Kobe. We lost him, and there's so many great people that we're losing along the way in 2020 that that we need to respect and honor. So hopefully we can get through this all together, and there's lots more kind of opportunity and stuff in the future. Kevin, yeah.
Seems like we're saying gone too soon, far too often, and that's what's getting to me. Like, I know it's part of getting older. A lot of these iconic figures are going to start falling off, but it seems like it's not just the iconic figures; it's the ones that are younger than me, considerably younger than me, that are gone too soon. Having said that, guys, I do have to bounce. Listen, we could talk. I could talk geek with you guys all day, because I mean, there's so many other aspects of this. Like, I mean, for myself, and especially with Ray, like, do you think that in some way it was bringing out Black Panther when they did was very, very strategic? Because again, it was a bit of a test to see if that demographic would flock to the movie theaters, knowing that they got a whole series of other movies coming up after the fact. Were they trying to pad their pocketbooks a little bit, knowing, what other successes that they had coming down the line, to make sure that, hey, we want to make sure people are coming out to our movies? Because listen, with technology right now, our eyes have options. So, and I'm sure DC and Marvel are conscious of that. But I was something else that I was very, especially, for some of you other guys as well. Like, I was very interesting to see the timing of when the movie came out. Because and while they were celebrating Black Panther and how great Wakanda was, they were you were seeing other superheroes that were feeding off of that, knowing that these movies are coming out later on. So just kind of want to drop in that little nugget there.
So I know you gotta run. But to quick point, I think when you have a script that good, there's no question. I'm sure they had that script and they're like, okay, well, no, there's no questions involved. Oftentimes these guys have scripts for these movies years in advance, and when Coogler and them pitched their idea, they're like, this is what I want to do. It was a no-brainer. So I think it was not about that. It was just, they just had an idea, and they had a tremendous actor, and it was like, it's a no-brainer. This is done. But where can people find you online? Like, Kevin, tell us about, social, all that fun shenanigans.
You can find me on Instagram at Kevin Carrington the Boys. Check out my website. Needs a little bit of work, kevincarrington.ca. But you'll find me anywhere where there's a microphone. I'm a CBC News reporter. You can catch me on 99.1, guiding you home in the evening times with Jill Deacon. I'm hosting events from Caravana to the Jazz Festival, the Kiddies Carnival. We did a virtual carnival recently, Biker Boys. I'm hosting those events. You know, I do voiceovers. I would love to get into the voice acting. I would love to show up at a Marvel studio one day and be like, yeah. Can you imagine that, guys? That we're having this conversation, and then in a few months, I come back to you guys, go, yo, they want me to voice the T'Challa guy. Like,
Do it. Do it.
At this standpoint, you take anyone. Guard number 3. Let's start with when it first came in the door. You know.
Yeah, I probably would take Meteor Man, but
the reboot.
Animated.
Let's put it out there. Meteor Man reboot. Let's do this. But yeah, John will put some stuff. Kevin, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, bud.
We'll have you again, buddy. And thank you, John. We'll put all your stuff on the YouTube and stuff too. So we'll.
Awesome, guys. Stay
you,
safe, and we'll do this again. Please, let's do this again.
Awesome.
For sure.
Thank you, man.
For sure.
Wakanda forever.
Yes.
Forever.
Forever. Yeah. So I think we'll wrap up soon, but I want to give you guys some time for some final thoughts. You know, Ron, you have some of the bangers, so we're gonna let you give your final thoughts on kind of Black Panther, and then we're gonna shut it all down. So go for it.
I'm gonna wrap this up as best I can, Stu. But you got some amazing points, and I'm just here taking it all in, and just the well of knowledge that you guys have helps a lot. One thing that you mentioned was Wakanda and how that looks, and how they're able to portray that. My number one rule, me and Andre have talked about movies and what they do right and what they do wrong, just our kind of input. My number one rule is, if you're looking at any comic book movie, once you venture into space, you're now untouchable, because now in space nobody can say, oh, I know that street corner, and
that's Vancouver, that's Toronto, oh that's Hamilton, oh I know that area, that's
like, wait a minute,
that's Scarborough. Yeah, that's U of T Scarborough, actually. Yeah, I hear you.
Right, so you kind of have that, but what I love that they did is they really hit on a lot of the hidden social hidden social points that we have known about for years. Wakanda represents Africa being the motherland where a lot of the resources come from. So when you are looking at it and they're keeping the resources in, that's kind of represents what is going on now, where you have a lot of countries wanting to go to Africa for the resources. So the vibranium kind of represents that. So you see that there, and you're like, well, wait a minute. Yeah, like, I've heard of this. My parents have talked to me about that. Now you see how they translate that into the film. So that would open the door for many other, Black parents to look and say, hey, you know what? You know that really represents such and such and such and such and such. So I really love that. Again, once you open up a new world, or you go into space, nobody watching can really question it, and now they can sit back and just enjoy the movie for what it is. Second quick point, Andre mentioned him, T'Challa talking with his generals and his sister. Now, those looking at it from the Black community's point of view, it's well known that the strength of the Black man comes from the Black woman. So you see the strength of women in the film, and the women are the soldiers and leading up front. And you're like, okay, wait a minute, now this is different. Again, this is them just kind of trying to say, hey, pay attention here. This is kind of what is going on. This is what has always been. We're just gonna kind of slide that in there, because we kind of want to pay respects to the black woman. And then just lastly, the film did so well. The film really impacted us, but what I really loved, that it impacted everybody else. I mean, I wasn't just seeing Black children going into stores saying, I want to be Black Panther, I want to be this. I saw children from other backgrounds doing it. So that moment just really was, really hit home, for me. I just looked at it and said, no, this is just unbelievable that the character has so much respect worldwide, that everybody, parents from all backgrounds say, hey, you know what? Yeah, you want to be a royal Black king? Go ahead. I'll get the costume. I'll get the toys. Yeah. So that's kind of where I leave it. Chadwick, unbelievable actor. You mentioned Denzel and his love and his passion, and every role that he had, he knocked out of the park. So with that, yeah, that's my take.
That was perfect. That was very eloquent. Warren, it's up to you to kind of give your final thoughts.
You know what? I agree with him 1,000%. I love the fact that this movie wasn't just for me; it was made for everybody. My wife is white, and she walked away saying, "Wow, that was an amazing movie." And I didn't have to explain much to her. The movie explained everything. It explained what the country was about and where they're going. And I think that they did a great job. And I think that if you haven't had a chance, you have to watch Lovecraft
Country.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's such a mix of history and they hold nothing back. And she now sees like how the society is and how we are. And you know what? It's sad because Donald Trump has brought truth out and he's showing what racism really is about. You didn't know that there are a lot of people that are living life thinking that racism doesn't exist, but unfortunately it does. And a movie like this shows people that, you know what, we don't have to hate each other. We can all love each other and we can help each other. And, you know, everyone walks away. No one talks about Black Panther like that. They didn't like it because of XYZ. They liked it because it was a great movie from top to bottom. It showed how amazing Africa can be. Africa's not a backwards country. All the movies before just showed Africa as being a jungle. If you look at the United Republic of Congo, South Africa, all of those African countries, they all have infrastructures and cities and they're beautiful. And a lot of people just, when they think of Africa, they think of lions and tigers and jungles. Well, this movie shows truth.
And sorry to interrupt, and to your point, it's Southern Africa. Like Northern Africa, it's Morocco and and Egypt. So people just know Africa as like the top of Africa, but not, you know, that culture below. It's because they're like, oh, there's Morocco, and there's a love for that type of area, and then Egypt, but you have to go back in time when there's a Nile and pyramids. So to your point, highlighting middle and lower Africa is something that's never really truly been done to honor that culture in those countries. Or Somali pirates. That's another way of people saying that's the way it is, right?
Well, I'm very interested to see how this will also affect DC, because DC's got there's a lot of Black superheroes that they can bring to the forefront. So will it be Black Lightning? Will it be Green Lantern? I'm not sure where they're going to go, but this movie was so good that they raised the bar so high that, I mean, I feel sorry for DC because they still have a lot of catching up to do. Marvel movies have just always been on point, and I'm actually more of a DC fan than I am a Marvel fan, but because I don't understand how they're so bad with movies, but they're so good with animation. You know, I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So when I watch Marvel movies, I do enjoy them. I want to hate them, and then I watch them and they're like, oh, it's so good. Like, God, when will DC catch up? And even with Black superheroes, what are they gonna do to kind of expand their universe?
Yeah.
I give Black Panther a slow clap, and losing Chadwick, honest to God, like I had to stop watching the news about him because it's an emotional thing. I mean, losing someone like that had so much to give, it honestly makes me sad. But I feel blessed that he did such a good job and gave us something to aspire to.
Yeah, the legacy will live on. And to your point, I think, you know, the different divisions in DC often made that difficult to do. But now everything's aligned based on the new structural changes. As if you watch one of our other podcasts, they're all going to be the same. So Marvel and DC are all streamlined. So hopefully that will all be better synergy.
I just want to say thanks for allowing me to be a part of this, because this was actually cathartic.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. And we'll give you, you and Ron, I know you guys, before, I'll let John and Andre finish off, and then we'll, unless you have to go, we'll give you one last shout out to where, if you want us to highlight your social media or where they can find you, we'll let you go to give that as well. But yeah, it's an absolute pleasure, and thank you for giving your insights. John, I know you've been quiet because I haven't been picking on you, but I wanted to give you some time to get your thoughts together and share with us your final thoughts, because a lot of stuff's been said. And
yeah, just in regards to Chadwick, just like not many, like we have a lot of actresses that we kind of look up to, but few of them have that charisma and the charm that an actor like Chadwick had, and his resume of playing, you know, Thurgood Marshall, Jackie Robinson, James Brown, and now Black Panther, and even in, like, he did a movie called 21 Bridges where he played a cop that would quote like old war, like, so he brought something different to it, like just everything he would bring to the table for this. And then if you watch him on the Saturday Night Live or the Jimmy Fallon, and even in interviews and things like that, you could tell that there was a lot going on, and he was putting so much into this. So the legacy that he's left, and if he knew that he had been battling this for, you know, for whatever years, the fact that, you know, he almost gave us a final lesson in how private he kept this, that he was able to not want to, you know, like, it was his choice. Like, he could have opened up, and, you know, I'm sure the fans would have outpoured and shown him love, but he said, you know what, I'm going to finish what I'm doing here. And the private life is mine, that he gave us so much that he didn't need to give us also, like, you know, that if he wanted to keep that private, that, you know, that's totally him. So I just feel sad that we have lost him, but he has left such like a beacon, a legacy that we can follow along. That many movies that we consume over the years, and just the Black Panther is just like the icing on the cake, that he was able to represent this character that means so much to so many people. That's pretty much all I can say about that. But yeah, like, just, yeah, it's tough. But
perfectly put, John. That was great. You had your shot and you nailed it. So thank you. Short and sweet, baby. John, that's how I expect. Andre, why don't you finish us off?
Yeah, I think so much has been said, and said well. I want to thank, you know, Warren and Ron and Ray, you know, for joining us, and I want to thank them for all their years of support, you know, and especially thanking Stu, because, you know, realistically, guys, if you're listening to this podcast or you're watching this video on YouTube, this is the type of stuff that we used to talk about all the time in the shop. You know, this is Heroes World shop talk at its best. You know, these customers, Warren for years, Ron for even more years. These guys are friends and family to us. So it's been great to see you guys this way. Because of the COVID situation, we clearly aren't getting as much face-to-face time at the store. But yeah, you know what? I woke up yesterday and this was the first thing that I saw. You know, I usually get up and check my messages and check anything, and I saw it, and I couldn't believe it. You know, there was that shock, you know, and then, you know, you see things on social media, you have to do a double check. You know, there's people who you know, pull the trigger too fast and say something, or could be one of these fake things and stuff. But it was real, and it was hard. You know, it's like for how much he did and how great he was. We are blessed to have gotten what we had, but we're also lessened because he could have done so more. Warren talked about the importance of the time and the importance of what we're seeing around the world, and we truly lost a not only a brilliant person, but a brilliant person to represent the best in people and people of color, and somebody who he played Jackie Robinson. He, you know, if anybody knows Jackie Robinson's story, like, you watch the movie, Jackie Robinson stepped on a baseball field and the other teams didn't want to play against him, you know, and look at what's happening now with the sports teams having to do this, like, not the same thing, but they have to step down because of what's going on in the world. And it's, look at all those years and generations, and we're at the same point. And it's heartbreaking, you know, and it's doubly heartbreaking to be a person of color and to think that I belong to the community at large. Like Warren, I grew up middle-class family, our parents worked, like all of our parents here came to this country and made better for us, thinking that we belong, and then you see the embodiment of this in the Black Panther, and we think we belong or stuff, and then the world as it isn't showing us that, you know, and like I said, we lost a spokesperson. We lost somebody who reinforces that and champions that and shows those things. But I think the truth of the matter is that his impact is so far that people will continue that. He became and he was able to embody all those great things, and he will be like he played our Black heroes, but now he is our Black hero. He is and will forever be T'Challa, to so many people. It's profoundly sad, but at the same time, we just have to be thankful and grateful to him, and mourn the loss of him with his family and stuff. But at the same time, not like John said, like he kept that part private, but we can celebrate all the other stuff, and we can continue what he did and what he represented and what he genuinely was. This was a genuine, real human being, not a Hollywood celebrity putting on a mask or something. You really feel like all the roles he's taken, all the interviews, you see how genuine he is, and for that I'm truly grateful.
Thank you. Thanks, Andre.
Well,
so Ron, do you want to share your social media handles and whatnot? Do you want to let people know where they can find you, or you're just gonna, or what do you like?
My social media handle, although not as exciting, is Heroes World.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. But Ronnie _ McFly. You can find that on Instagram. You could also find me driving the TTC buses out on West End, Dufferin, Eglinton, Western Road, Garland Road. I'm out there, and I love to talk with the public and interact with everybody and all of that. But just want to thank you guys for opening up the door to have these discussions and inviting me today, and I really enjoyed this time with all of you guys.
It's always a pleasure, Ron. It's good to see you as always. Warren, do you want to share, or do you want to, again, no pressure, whatever you want.
I don't really have any social media. I'm an old dude.
He's elusive man. He's the elusive man.
That's me. My wife set up the Zoom. You can see Jody. I apologize for not having my name up there. I'm gonna have to get that for me.
They don't see it. They don't see that.
They don't see it. Yeah, inside the studio, they don't see anything that's posted on the name. So don't worry about it. Yeah.
I do have a movie for you guys to check if you haven't seen it. It's called Message from the King. And Chadwick, it's one of those movies that he did that didn't make it onto the big screen, but it's if you want to see another good movie that he did, it's a standout movie. It's great. I loved it. Once again, I think you guys are awesome. This has been really great to be a part of, because I think that when we look back on 2020, this is one of those moments that we're going to say, where were you when? And that's all I really got to say. So thanks a lot for having me on.
No, I appreciate your insight. And to your point, I think this moment will galvanize a lot of things in terms of the message going forward, the future, not only just for Marvel and DC, but just society. And when it comes to media, like, what are we going to do to honor this guy? What are we going to do to carry on his message, the torch, carry it forward? Like, regardless of whether the movie happens now or in 5 years, there's going to be lots of things that people are going to honor him, and it'll be, that's something that will live longer than anyone. So it's hopefully we look forward to, the future and what kind of diversity it means for all type of comic books and to DC as well. So let's cross our fingers and hope that big change will come there as well. John and Andre, where can they find you in regular spiel?
Yeah, so Heroes World Online on the Facebook, Heroes Online on the IG. We do have a Twitter account set up dedicated for the podcast as well, called Heroes World Pod. So you can interact with us there. And Andre's got the physical location.
Yeah, so we still have our brick and mortar store. We are in Markham, which is just outside of the GTA, Greater Toronto area. It's 8601 Warden Avenue. And you can find all kinds of great products there, not only comic books, but card games, board games, anime, manga, models, just you name it, we've got it. Role-playing games, very, very huge right now. And we are open, so you can come in, or if you're not comfortable with that, hit us up on one of our socials. We can arrange curbside pickup or shipping. We're trying to make things as easy for people and make it comfortable for people too.
So again, I want to thank our guests, Ron, Warren, Kevin, Ray. Thank you for giving your insights, sharing. Apologies for some technical difficulties on our end when it comes to the Zoom meeting, but I'm glad that you were all here and it gave you that time to shine.
Was it a technical difficulty, or was Ronel dropping that bomb? Freaking out for a second. He's like, left, Meteor Man, and then he's like,
this it was dramatic pause, but yeah,
I came back.
You came back, but yeah, if please, if you're watching the whole entire podcast, thank you so much. Please continue to share and like and discuss in the messages below. Talk to us about your favorite Black Panther moments. Share your memories with about Chadwick and what Black Panther means to you. So, the comment sections are open. We'll read them. We always look at them, but we appreciate your ongoing support and just people coming in and from all different walks of life and different backgrounds to really share. So thank you all. Hopefully you're all doing well, and rest in peace to Chadwick. Your memory and your thoughts will live on. So as a mandatory, as Kevin said, Wakanda forever. So this is something that will always live on for all of us. So thanks for listening and watching, and have a great one. Thanks everyone.
Thanks everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.